So,
Hallelujah.
so we are definitely grateful for that. First off, I want to say thank you to Brother Joseph for the lesson last week. Really appreciate that. Um, I don't know if you guys know how hard it is to do these lessons. Especially for myself, it's very difficult to do these lessons when they're over. Like usually I go somewhere in a corner and I lay down and I just chill out because it's very taxing. It's actually kind of stressful. So for Brother Joseph to step up and do that, I am really grateful. He gave me a much needed break and a chance for me to sit down and listen and learn. So thank you again for that. But this week we're going to get into a new topic that we have not done before. Not completely. We've done it sort of, but this is a different take on it. And I've told you guys before that I am not good at titles. I don't like writing titles. Whenever I get the messages, whenever I get the words, I don't get titles. I just get the content. And this is what happens when I come up with content, with a title. So this time the title is Hidden in Plain Sight. Hidden in Plain Sight. At some point, I may try to share my screen so you can see my notes. If somebody who's on a laptop can do me a matter of fact, Mom, can you do me a favor? Whenever I give out the scriptures, can you just type them into the chat? You can just give me a thumbs up. Just type them into the chat so that we can have like a record of it. So if anybody misses one, or if I say something they don't understand and they don't want to ask or interrupt, they can just go ahead and look at the chat and see where the scriptures are. So one of the first places that I want to go to about our history being hidden in plain sight. Even though everybody's phone's on mute, do me a favor, repeat this to yourself. Repeat after me. It's okay. I didn't know. I have repented. God, please forgive me. Because I'm about to show you some stuff. Don't repeat this part. I'm about to show you some stuff that you have seen before and you just did not pick up on it. Some of the stuff you may not have seen before, but I'm pretty sure a lot of this you have seen before out in the world, and you've seen it at different times, and it just didn't click for you. But now that you have repented and you are trying to, and we're all trying to find our way in this truth, we are, I'm not going to say we're no longer held accountable for those things we didn't know, because Hosea 4:6 said that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Just because we didn't know, like now you know, we have all made the necessary changes to get ourselves right. Right? Right. So one of the first things that we're going to do is it's through our maps and through maps and through our history. So hidden in plain sight. So the first bullet point is maps and history. So is everybody, let's do it this way. Has everybody heard of Negro Land before? Yeah, most of us have. Most of us have heard of Negro Land, or by another name called Nigritia, Nigratia. Yes. So real quick definition. Negro Land or Nigritia is an archaic term in European mapping describing the inland and by Westerners poorly explored region in West Africa as an area populated with Negro people. One more time. Negro Land or Nigritia is an archaic term in European mapping describing the inland and by Westerners poorly explored region in West Africa as an area populated with Negro people. Now, for those of you guys who don't have this book, this is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. You can Google this information online, but it's always good to have the book so that you can actually turn the pages. So I'm going to read you something. Remember, in that particular description, it says an area, this is West Africa, an area populated with Negro people. Just to show you who this was specifically talking about. Not all Africans are considered Negro. So this is Ham in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor, meaning the beginning, the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So again, in this description, when it says that this portion of West Africa was inhabited by Negro people, it's not talking about Africans. There's a difference. We know that what is the scripture is it Amos 3:2? No, Exodus 11:7, where it says that the Most High says that he put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So we aren't the same people. We are dark skinned, yes. We are not the same. The description says this area comprised at least the western part of the region called Sudan, not to be confused with the modern country. The term is probably a direct translation of the Arabic term Bilad al-Sudan, meaning land of the blacks, corresponding to about the same area. There were various kinds of people in the area. Some of the greatest states of those considered part of Negro land were the Bornu Empire and the Sokoto Caliphate. So this is talking about these particular areas. And I'm actually going to pull up a map. Give me just a half a second real quick. Zoom in. Here we go. Let me share my screen just for a second. Share screen. Okay, so everybody can see my screen, right? This is Negro land. It's the upper west part of Africa. It's it's West Africa. See right here, this is Upper Guinea. So where New Guinea is and all of that stuff, this is right there. This is the goat. If you look close, I'm sorry. Let's see. Let's zoom in. If you see right here, this is Gold Coast. This area right here is Gold Coast. And then over here, Slave Coast. Now in Negro land, this is important. Right here in Negro land, near Upper Guinea, is something called the Kingdom of Judah or Slave Coast. We all know who Judah is. We all understand what the Kingdom of Judah is. We don't understand what the Kingdom of Judah is. We understand who Judah is. So give me 1 second. Let me go back to unshare my screen. Whoops, wrong button. Give me 1 second. All right, why won't it let me do it? Hold on, wait 1 second. Hold up, guys. I am not the most computer savvy person there is in the world. I'm trying to unshare my screen, but it's not letting me do it. Yeah. And you're not me. There it is.
I got it. You see it now?
Yeah, it's up there at the top.
Okay.
Stop sharing. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. So we all know who Judah is, and we know what the significance of Judah is. But why would the Kingdom of Judah be in Negro land? It's a good question, right? So under the description of that image of the map I just showed you, it says this is Spanish West Africa. Why would this be Spanish West Africa? So it says Spanish West Africa was a grouping of Spanish colonies along the Atlantic coast of Northwest Africa. It was formed in 1946 by joining the southern zone of the Spanish Protectorate in Morocco, the colony of Ifni, and the colony of Spanish Sahara into a single administrative unit following the Ifni War, 1957 and 58. Spain ceded in the Southern Protectorate to Morocco and created separate provinces for Ifni and the Sahara in 1958. So this area of West Africa was under Spanish control. One of the key things that to let you know that it was under Spanish control is that the name of this particular area was Negro land. Negro, contrary to popular opinion, Negro is not an English word. It's not a French word. It's none of that. Negro is actually a Spanish word. It originated in Portuguese. It has ties to a word from Latin. So Negro just means black. So Negroid people are just dark-skinned or black people. Now, it's important to know that that word comes from, it has Portuguese origins, because it was the Portuguese who put Judah in that part of Africa. Negroland was a misnomer, which means just inappropriate name or misname. It's named inappropriately on purpose. So Negroland, it wasn't something to be proud of. It was a place where the Portuguese, when they banished all of the black, I'm going to read some excerpts of different diaries to show you this, and from different books. But Negroland was the place where the Portuguese banished and exiled their black Jews. And it was known that that's what they were doing. They sent them to Negroland because they also exiled their like convicts and murderers and some of their worst people there. It was their place. That's why it says that it was Spanish West Coast, Spanish West Africa. It was their place. That was one of their colonies where they sent the worst of the people in their country. And so there became a time where they did not want the black Jews no longer in Spain and in Portugal and places like that. So they sent them to a place called Negroland. It was them poking fun at us, like, here, this is your land, this is your area for all the black people, the land of the blacks. Here, this is where you belong. So we're gonna read something. I'm gonna read this to you, and it's a lot. So what I can do is I'll find out a way how I can make this available. My notes that I wrote, that I typed up for this, how to make this available. So this is the Kingdom of Judah and Negroland were both a result of something called the Spanish Inquisition. We've all probably heard of it at one time or another, the Spanish Inquisition, but this is what it was. So Spanish and Portuguese Jews, also called Western Sephardim. So you might want to write that down. Spanish and Portuguese Jews, also called Western Sephardim, and that's Sephardim. Western Sephardim are a distinctive subgroup of Iberian Jews who are largely descended from Jews who lived as new Christians in the Iberian Peninsula during the immediate generations following the forced expulsion of unconverted Jews from Spain. Pay attention to this date. This date is very important. Following the forced expulsion of unconverted Jews from Spain in 1492 and from Portugal in 1497. Okay, everybody unmute your phones real quick because I'm gonna ask you a question. What is significant about the date 1492?
Columbus.
What about Columbus?
Supposedly discovered America.
He supposedly discovered America in 1492, right? Columbus was a Spaniard. He was from Spain. So if the black Jews, the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, were expelled from that area in 1492, That was when he supposedly set sail to go and find America, right? How is it that he can say that he did not know about the Jews or that he landed here on accident? He can't, because he already knew about he already knew about the Jews that were in Spain. Because remember, it didn't say that they were found in Spain in 1492 or that they just showed up in Spain in 1492. No, that was when they were expelled from Spain. So he already knew about them. He knew about us. And there's a movie called 1492 where it shows that Christopher Columbus was studying Esdras in the Apocrypha. Well, at that time, it wasn't the Apocrypha. It was just the Bible. He was studying Esdras. And I want to say I did it. Matter of fact, I can show you exactly what he was studying. He was studying First Esdras. I believe it's chapter 13 and verse, wait, nope, no, it's not. What is it? Is Second Esdras 13 and 40? It is, yes. He was studying Second Esdras, chapter 13, and starting at verse 40. And it says, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea, the king, whom Salmanessar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. A further country where never mankind dwelt. That is known as the New World. It's new. Nobody hasn't lived there. They don't know of anybody there yet. That was pretty much undiscovered territory at that time. It says that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsareth. 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 Now, I know for most of us, we don't know a country called Arsareth, but to find out what Arsareth is or what it means, you have to go to the source or as close to the source as you possibly can. Now, if you ever get a chance to look at the Jewish Encyclopedia, you can Google this information. If you go to the Jewish Encyclopedia tells you that Arsareth is a land known to Christopher Columbus, which he later called America. That's what Arsareth is. So at this particular time, when Christopher Columbus was studying how to find the rest of the Jews, or how to find at least the 10 tribes, he was studying through Esdras on how to get to Arsareth, how to get to that landmass. So 1492 was not an accident. He did not accidentally stumble upon America. He knew what he was looking for. In his diary, it talks about a man, I can't remember this guy's name. It talks about a man who was on his ship that he carried with him on his voyages. He was very important to Columbus because he was a Hebrew translator. If he wasn't intentionally looking for the Jews who predominantly spoke Hebrew at that time, why would he need a Hebrew translator? He had a Hebrew translator. So he was looking for the Jews. And I'll read to you as to why. So it says, although the 1492 and 1497 expulsions of unconverted Jews from Spain and Portugal were separate events from the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisitions, which was established over a decade earlier in 1478, they were ultimately linked, as the Inquisition eventually also led to the fleeing out of Iberia of many descendants of Jewish converts to Catholicism in subsequent generations. So what that means is the Jews that were in those surrounding areas they were afraid of what was happening. They were afraid of being expelled and being caught and sent out to these different areas, to Negro land, to the Kingdom of Judah, and things like that. So they began to convert to Catholicism, because that's what the Inquisition was about. It was about spreading Catholicism and Christianity. So anybody who wasn't a Catholic or who wasn't professing Christianity, you were forced to do so. If you did not accept it, they either killed you or they expelled you to another country somewhere, probably some type of camp. As you can see in the map that I showed you, the Kingdom of Judah was also known as the Slave Coast. So when they sent those Jews there, that actually began or was a major part of the transatlantic slave trade. So they were sending them to this place, to the Kingdom of Judah, poking fun at them, like, yeah, here's your kingdom where all you heathens go, you slaves go. And they were shipping them out and selling them to other countries. So I'm gonna continue on. So despite the fact that the original edicts of expulsion did not apply to Jewish origin new Christian conversos, which just means new Christian converts. It says, as these were now legally Christians. So if you denounced being an Israelite, if you denounced being a Jew, you were now considered a legal Christian. The discriminatory practices that the Inquisition nevertheless placed upon them, which were often lethal, put immense pressure on many of the Jewish origin Christians to also immigrate out of Spain and Portugal in the immediate generations following the expulsion of their unconverted Jewish brethren. Now, we've read about this before in the Apocrypha. We've read about this. Who remembers where? I see your mouth moving, but you're muted.
Maccabees?
Yes. This is Second Maccabees. Yes, Second Maccabees chapter 6. Chapter 6, verse 1. We'll read verse 1 first, and then we'll skip to another one. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in garrison of Jupiter, Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. So this is them trying to get the Jews to abandon our faith, to walk away from the laws of God, to not be Jews. Jump to verse 8. It says, moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. So I'm going to stop just to catch up, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. During the time of the Maccabees, which captivity is this? This is the Greeks. Some of you guys' mouths are moving, but you forget you're on mute. This is during the Greek captivity. So the Maccabees, this is during the time when Greek ruled basically the majority of the planet. So during this time, this is also around the same time where you get these Jews who live in Portugal and Spain, and in these different countries and in these different places. So when it says that these neighboring cities, that's what it's talking about. Everybody that was under Greek rule at that time, that's a neighboring city. So in verse 9, it says, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So this is during that time where it became illegal to call themselves a Jew. And that's actually one of the scriptures. We'll have to find it. I have to come back to it. But this is during that time where it's unlawful to call yourself a Jew. And if you did so, you would be put to death or you would be exiled and sent away. And that's exactly what we're reading about in this history right here. It's it's during the Spanish Inquisition that they were being sent out. Now, this is something that you want to write down. It's called the Alhambra Decree, Alhambra Decree, the Alhambra Decree, also known as the Edict of Expulsion. Remember, we just read about that, and this is why I pulled this up, and this is important. So, in the last thing that I read, it says, despite the fact that the original edicts of expulsion. So this is what they're talking about: the Alhambra Decree. What are you doing? The Alhambra Decree, also known as the Edict of Expulsion, was an edict issued on 31st of March, 1492, by the joint Catholic monarchs of Spain, Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon. So these are the Catholic monarchs. So when you see our people, and we're a bunch of us who are Catholics and who are caught up in those things, even if you don't believe that you're a Catholic, if you say I'm a Baptist, that's a denomination or a subset of Catholicism, because that's where its roots are. If you say I'm Pentecostal, if you say I'm missionary Baptist, or whatever it is, all of those things come from and they come out of Catholicism. So these people, when you see us and we're in these other denominations and we're in these other religions, we don't understand that this is where it comes from. So on March 31st, 1492, by the joint Catholic monarchs of Spain, Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon, ordering the expulsion of all unconverted practicing Jews from the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon, including from all its territories and possessions. Remember what we just read in 2 Maccabees 6, the neighboring cities. So from all its territories and possessions, by 31st July of that same year, 1492, the primary purpose of the expulsion was to eliminate the influence of unconverted Jews on Spain's by then large Jewish origin new Christian converso population, to ensure that the prior did not encourage the latter to relapse and revert to Judaism. So they did not want those of us who were still practicing, who were still keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, still holding on to the Sabbath, still doing all those things. They did not want them to go back and encourage those other Jews who, for fear, converted to Christianity or to Catholicism at the time. They didn't want them to go back and encourage those guys to stand fast on the word of the Lord, to stand fast on the laws. Why is that so much? Why is that important to remove those who are still practicing, to keep them from engaging with the other ones, to engage with those who converted?
Because righteousness can't be with unrighteous. They'll convert them back. Once you start putting righteous folks into an unrighteous camp, those people will become righteous eventually.
Absolutely. So remember, for some of you guys are new or you weren't here for that lesson, we went over a lesson describing the natural Gentile and the Israelite Gentiles. So Israelite Gentile would be people like Cornelius, who was a member of the Italian band. You know, people like to think that he was just a Roman citizen. He was a Greek, he was a Grecian, but he was actually an Israelite. So there's a difference between the natural Israelite, who would be a heathen or somebody from another nation, and the Gentiles being the Israelites who are acting like those heathen. The reason Paul was so important, Paul's ministry was so important, was because he went to those Gentiles who were unrepentant Israelites. So what this edict is saying, and what this expulsion was, and what they were doing was, they were trying to prevent people like Paul and Peter from going to the Gentiles, those lost Israelites who had converted and gone into other religions for whatever reason, for fear, for, comfortability, for, being just like, whatever, like this is easier for me to do. I don't have to worry about the Sabbath. I don't have to worry about keeping the laws. For whatever reason, they wanted to stop people like Paul and Peter from going to reach those people. Why? Because then they would also win them back over to the word, win them back over to the laws. Isn't that exactly what Christ was doing? when Christ walked the earth, isn't that what he was doing? He was teaching repentance. That was his whole mission. That was his whole job, to go out and teach repentance to those Israelites who were lost and who had lost their way. That's what he was doing. This is also the main reason why Christ stayed in Jerusalem. Why you didn't see him walking around in Rome, walking around in Greece, and in those other places. Because at different times in history, depending on who the leader was and who was in charge, it was illegal for them to do so. If you got caught doing that, you'd be put to death. So we're gonna go back. So this is, I can't. This is what I was reading to you in 2nd Esdras 13. It says, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses, until the time of the restoration, according to 2nd Esdras 13. And this is from the Jewish Encyclopedia. I'm sorry for the noise. If you guys need me to repeat that, give me a thumbs up. You need me to repeat that? No, we're good. All right. So this is in the Jewish Encyclopedia, and it says Columbus identified America with this land, and that's referring to the land of Arsareth. Okay, everybody clear on that? That's what Arsareth was. So that was one of the ways. That was one of the ways how they've hidden our history in plain sight. You know, it's through our maps and through our history. So hey, I was right. I wrote that down. So another way that they've done it is through song. Now this is, like I said, some of the stuff you guys have heard before, some of the stuff you've seen before, you just didn't recognize it. So one of the ways is through songs. So like, it's not that it was hidden from us, but we were leaving ourselves, and this is actually kind of dope. Our ancestors were leaving us hints and clues on who we were, and they were doing it through song. So like I watched a video recently of it was one of the slave ships was bringing a large cargo of African slaves of us. They were bringing us over to the Americas, but at the same time, the slave masters and the ship people were that ship people. I didn't say a bad word. They were raping the young girls and the women on the boats. And so at one point in this video, they started singing a song because they were rowing the ship. And so they were singing a song to keep timing so that they all could row at the same time. But inside of this song, they were delivering messages back and forth to one another. And so the message was they were starting to do a revolt against the people on the ship. And so they were singing the song, and the people on the ship, they don't know any better. They can't speak the language. They don't care to. They're just like, why are they singing this song? It sounds really happy. But so as they were singing, they would leave. They were saying things like, you know, okay, as soon as he comes down on this side, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start attacking because he has an axe. We're going to use that axe to break the chain. And then we're going to go and we're going to attack. And I'm like, okay, who are we going to get next? And this is all in the song. It's like, you know, we're going to go get the man over the gun. And then we're going to go get the guy with the key. Because then that way we'll never, you know, we can go and let the women go. He can't rape any of them, and we'll kill all of them on the ship so that we can go. So this is all happening in this song. So during the time on the ship, they revolted, and they managed to get control of the ship. But then like the ship people who were, you know, transporting the slaves, they had a secondary ship just in case this happened, and they got shot down and destroyed, and it was terrible. But we would do that all the time. We would leave ourselves clues and hints. One of those is Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Everybody knows that song. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home, right? What kind of message would we be saying? Now, this was something that we sang in the cotton fields during the times of slavery when, you know, we were very much so oppressed. Why would we be singing a song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming forth to carry me home?
Well, part of that song says, I looked over yonder and what did I see? A band of angels coming after me. So maybe they could see help coming.
They could see help coming. Yes. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 11. Second Kings chapter 2, verse 11. So swing low, sweet chariot. This is okay, we'll just read it. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 11. It says, and it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. They remember, one of the main things, one of the first things that they did when they brought the slaves over to this land, actually they did this was a practice that they did everywhere, wherever we were carried. They stripped us of our language. They stripped us of being able to write and to communicate with each other. So this is something, I don't know if anybody has ever read the book of Art of War by Feng Zhu, and it talks about how to fight your enemies. And so one of the main things that you want to do is you strip them of the ability to communicate with each other. And so that's what they would do to us during the times of slavery. They would immediately, they would strip us of our language. They would strip us of our ability to communicate, to read or write, any of those things. So the people who were in slavery, they knew about this biblical history, and they knew about the time when Elijah was carried away in a chariot. So that's where this song came from. They were singing a song, swing low, sweet chariot. So it's just like when Elijah was carried away in a chariot of fire drawn by horses of fire. That's what they were singing for. That's what they were hoping for. So we were leaving each other. So it's not that they were trying to convince other slaves at the time, because they all knew the same information. They all knew the same history. They were leaving these little clues for us, the later generations who didn't know, because the traditions then were all oral. They would, we didn't write anything for a while. It was all passed down through songs or through stories and things like that. So this one was an attempt to pass on this story, or an attempt to pass on some encouragement from one generation to the next. So when they say, swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home, for us, home is heaven. Home is the kingdom of heaven. Now, remember the lesson we went over, not literally a place into the sky, not that heaven, but heaven as in the conditioned heaven. Take us back to a time where we were ruling, where we were in control, when we didn't have to worry about all of this. Because in Deuteronomy 28, and I want to say 36, it's either 36 or 46, where it talks about, and I will mess up I will misquote. No, it's not 46. It is, it talks about we should have no assurity of life. I'm gonna have to find it. Sorry, I'm doing it again, making those noises. But that's what it's in Deuteronomy 28. I have to go back and look. And it talks about how we would have no assurance of life, meaning that you're not safe at any particular moment in time. You don't know what's coming. You don't know when it's happening. So they were saying, take us back to a place where we don't have to worry about that, where I don't have to keep looking over my shoulder to see if master's coming for me, or if I've stepped on an ear of corn, or if I bent some cotton, he's gonna come and kill me or whoop me, So they were saying, swing low, sweet chariot, come rescue us, come take us back to a place where we, where we were safe. So there's another song, Kumbaya. Now I want you to know two things. The spelling of this is very important. The first way is Qumbyyyah. The second way is Kumbyyah. Now, when I started looking this up, it actually kind of gave me goosebumps. Can anybody, Joe, I know you might know this already. Can anybody, thank you, Deuteronomy 28:66. Can anybody take a guess as to what Kumbaya means?
Come by here, Yah.
When you say come by here, what do you mean come by here?
Kuman, as the Angolians, as they call them, coming from the Charleston coast, are what we call the Geechee folks. What say Kuman? Kuman to them was come by here, and Yah was come by here, Yahuwah.
Yes, absolutely. I knew you would know. So kumbaya. Kum means come by, or literally translates into arise or visit us, right? So this is an old, okay. Kumbaya is an African American spiritual of disputed origin, but known to be sung in the Gullah culture of the islands of South Carolina and Georgia, with ties to enslaved West Africans. Remember that comes back up again. I told you they hit our history in the maps. You know, we were in Spanish West Africa, over in that coast. That was the slave coast, the Gold Coast. That's where we were. So it says that this was it had ties to enslaved West Africans. Now kumbaya ties into another saying, another popular Hebrew saying called kum yasharala, and yasharala is Israel, kum being arise. Remember I said the translation is it's visit us, come by here, or arise. So when it says kum yasharala, it means arise, O Israel, right? So if we go to examples of this, is if you go to Psalms chapter 10, verse 1, I believe. Yeah. Psalm chapter 10, verse 1.
You want me to read it out?
Sure, absolutely.
Psalms chapter 10, verse 1. Why stand you afar off, O Yahuwah? Why hide you yourself in times of trouble?
So remember, we said that kum means arise or come by. So right here, David is asking, he's saying, why are you afar off? I need you close to me. Like, can you come back close to me? I need to be close to you. Can you read verses 12 through 18? You're muted. You're muted, Joe.
Sorry, Psalms chapter 10, verses 12 through 18.
Yes.
Arise, Yahuwah, O El, lift up your hand. Forget not the humble. Wherefore
Right,
does the
One second. Hold on 1 second. So the first word in verse 12 is arise. That's what he's talking about. Remember in verse 1, he's saying, why I need to be close to you. Why are you far away from me? Verse 12, he says, arise. That's kum in Hebrew. That's come by here, visit me, arise. Come by. So when kumbaya is asking them, this is David. This is the song Kumbaya. Right here in this psalm, because remember, most psalms were written as songs. This is the song Kumbaya. So go ahead to verse 13.
Verse 13. Wherefore does the wicked contemn Elohim? He has said in his heart, you will not require it.
Keep going.
You have seen it, for you have behold mischief and spite, to requite it with your hand. The poor commits himself unto you. You are the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till you find none. Yahuwah is king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of his land. Yahuwah, you have heard the desire of the humble. You have prepared their heart. You will cause your ear to hear. Verse 18, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may no more oppress.
So you see, this is what Kumbaya is about. During the time when the slaves were singing that song, is that not the exact same thing that David is talking about right here? He's saying, God, why are you so far away from me? In verse 1, why are you away from me? Why standest thou afar off? O Lord, why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? Why are you far away from me? Now I'm in trouble. And he's asking him, this is his petition. Arise, in verse 12. Arise, O Lord, O God, lift up thine hand. Forget not the humble. Because that's what they were. During that time of oppression and during slavery, we were humbled. That's what it means, to be brought down low. That's what humble means. It means to be brought down. Whether you do it voluntarily or you do it because you have to. There's a ghetto saying that we used to say back in the day, is get down or lay down. Meaning you get down, you put yourself down voluntarily, or you're going to lay down because I want to make you lay down. So he's saying, arise, O God, come visit us. We are in desperate need of you because you are far away from us. And then 13 through 17, he's telling you what the problem is. We're being oppressed. This is what I want you to do. I want you to arise and come handle this situation that I'm in right now. I'm being trodden down. I'm being whipped. I'm being beaten. Our families are being separated. We're being broken apart. All of this is happening. This is what David is saying. And then he says, this is why I want you to come, to do all of these things and to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth is talking about the oppressor, meaning the people who are oppressing us at that particular time, that the man of the earth may no more oppress. So the slaves were singing this song that David is singing right here in Psalm 10. So if the slaves are singing, so that's two, right? That's two instances. If the slaves, the supposedly African slaves that we were Africans because Africans sold other Africans into slavery. If these Africans are singing, well, why are these Africans singing Hebrew songs? That's because they were not Africans. Now, don't get me wrong. Jerusalem is on the northeast coast of Africa. It's on the same tectonic plate, yes. It's on the same landmass, but they are two separate countries, just like the U.S. and Canada are two separate countries, but they occupy the same landmass. They're on the same continent of North America. That's exactly the same relationship as Africa and Israel. So why would those Africans be singing Hebrew songs? It's because they were Israelites the whole time. Another song. Oh, I'm sorry. Go to Psalms chapter 17. This is another example in verses 13 and 14. And this one I can read. Verse 13 says, arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Now that's an important scripture to note right there. He says, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Remember how in Deuteronomy, it's 28, and I believe it's verse 48, when it says that the Lord will send these people against us, meaning that they are his tool. Everything is in his control. We all know that. But the people who captured us and enslaved us, they were being used by the Most High. The Most High used them to do that. That was their job. So instead of him coming down and beating us with his hands, he used the other nations to do that for him. So right here when David said, I think this is David. Yes, this is David. And he says, when David says, deliver my soul from the wicked, talking about these other people who are enslaving us and who are doing these terrible things to us, which is thy sword, meaning you are using them. He says, from men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. So this is the same instance of Qum, Q-U-M, that he's talking about, arise, come and visit us. So that's what kumbaya is. It's not an African proverb. It's not, no, this is something that it's Hebrew. It was them, the slaves, passing something on to us, these clues to us, leaving us these breadcrumbs so that we could find our way back to who we are. Remember, it's Deuteronomy 28:46, and said that these curses shall be a sign and a wonder unto us, so that we could find our way back to him, find our way back to the law, statutes, commandments. Another song that I thought was cool, like I didn't know all of the words to the song, and when I found it, I was amazed. It's Wade in the Water. Everybody knows this song. It's wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's going to trouble the water. See that host all dressed in white, God's going to trouble the water. The leader looks like the Israelite. God's going to trouble the water. Why is it that these slaves are singing about Israelites? Why are they singing about we gonna wade in the water? This is why now there's a few examples in the scriptures of why they would be singing that. The first one is Exodus chapter 14, verse 26. This is the most common one, the most easiest one to grasp. Exodus chapter 14, verse 26. Verse 26. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. This is why the slaves were singing, wade in the water. They were hoping, remember, all of these songs have a tie. They want the Most High to come rescue them, come save us from this terrible iniquity, from this terrible, time of our lives. So they're saying wade in the water because they knew this story of Moses and the Exodus. If we're in the water, it says God's going to trouble the water. And then the second verse of the song says, see that band all dressed in red, God's going to trouble the water. Looks like the band that Moses led. God's going to trouble the water. So it's not that they're trying to hide it. They're trying to make it easy for us to figure out. So you're saying that in the first verse, it says, that band that host all dressed in white, the leader looks like the Israelite. And then she turns around and said, because I'm saying she because this is one that Harriet Tubman apparently sang a lot. And from her, people thought that she was saying get into the water so that they could hide their scent from the dogs. Yes, that is true. When they were being chased by dogs, they would get into the water to try to lose their scent. But they were also saying that because they knew what God has done in the water during times of trouble. We're going to get in the water, and just like he destroyed the Egyptians with the water, he's going to destroy these people in the water. If we just wade in the water, God will trouble the water. Just like in the, when the angel would jump into was it the Jordan? It wasn't the Jordan. When the angel would jump into the water and trouble the water, people would go in, and the first person in will get healed. That's what they're asking for. Say that again.
Pool of Bethesda.
Yes, there you go. In the pool of Bethesda. That's what they're hoping for. So they know the slaves knew this. They knew that this book was ours. They knew where our help came from. So they were leaving us these little nuggets. Another song, I'm not going to do too many songs. Yeah, but another song is This Little Light of Mine. These are all songs that we know. We've all heard these. It says, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Now, I'm only going to focus on some important parts. It says, not going to put it under a bushel. What is that? Now, remember, during this time, slaves were not allowed to read the Bible. We were not allowed to sit down and communicate and try to encourage one another. That was something that was illegal, basically. So when it says, I'm not going to put my light under a bushel, what are they referring to?
Psalm, Matthew.
Yes. Matthew chapter 5, verse 15. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 15. Matter of fact, we'll start at verse 14. It says, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. They were singing these songs to give each other encouragement and to leave us messages. We got to get back to where we are. And the light, who knows what the light is that we possess? What is this light that we're supposed to let shine?
The word, the commandments.
How do you prove it?
Torah.
How do you prove it?
It will be a lamp unto our feet.
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23.
Proverbs.
Chapter 6, verse 23. And it reads, it says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So that's what it is. That's the light that they were talking about. They were talking about the laws of God. So when they were saying, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm not going to put it under a bushel. I'm not going to hide it. They're talking about keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Now, these are supposedly African slaves who were savages and heathens and didn't know any better. Why would they be singing about keeping the laws of God? Why would they be talking about if we wade in the water, the Most High will come and rescue us? Why would they be talking about arise, Yahweh, come by and take care of us, come by and rescue us? Why would they be singing those songs? Why would they be saying swing low, sweet chariot to take us home? Why would they be singing that if we were truly Africans and savages and heathens and things like that? Because that's not us. This is proof that we knew who we were even back then. So the next thing, we're going to move past that. So we got maps and history, and now we have songs. And songs. And so the next one is through our language. This is kind of trippy. Remember what we said in the beginning. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I repented. God forgave me. Right? So through our language. Anybody knows what the word ghetto means? Without Google? Without looking
Place
at
for the blacks.
It's a place. You said a place for the blacks?
Yeah.
You got to get more specific than that.
A place where blacks dwell.
A place where Jews
Live. Yeah.
Absolutely. The word ghetto. Now this is crazy. The word ghetto. All right. A ghetto, often the ghetto, is a part of a city in which members of a minority group live, typically as a result of social, legal, or economic pressure. Ghettos are often known for being more impoverished than other areas of the city. Versions of the ghetto appear across the world. Each with their own names, classifications, and groupings of people. The term was originally used for the Venetian ghetto in Venice, Italy, as early as 1516 to describe the part of the city where Jews were restricted to live and thus segregated from other peoples. However, early societies may have formed their own versions of the same structure. Words resembling ghetto in meaning appear in Hebrew, Yiddish, Italian, Germanic, Old French, and Latin. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, Yiddish is a combination of Hebrew and Polish. So it says ghettos in many cities have also been nicknamed the hood, colloquial slang for neighborhood after it is shortened to hood. Now, this is crazy. Now, remember, it says versions of the ghetto appear across the world, right? We're going to go to Deuteronomy real quick. Deuteronomy 28, verse 16. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 16, 1-6. It says, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed in the field, we all know that. That was slavery. Tobacco field, sugarcane field, rice field, whatever, rice paddy, all that. We were cursed in every manner of field, we know that. But cursed in the city. Where is the ghetto? In the city. The ghetto is often the most impoverished part of the city. Remember, it says that in Venice, Italy, when the term was coined, this is where the Jews were made to live. We were made to live in the ghetto. I know I used to call my neighborhood the ghetto all the time. We actually call each other ghetto. We still call our neighborhoods hood. We call the hood ghetto, all that. So we've been saying these things and calling ourselves these things all the while, and we never picked up on it. We never knew. We never took the time, and I'm saying we because me included. We never took the time to sit down and actually understand why these things are the way they were. Why do we call our neighborhood a ghetto? Never thought about it. Who inhabits predominantly the ghettos of America and anywhere in the world? You can go to, there are ghettos everywhere you think of, like every country, every city has a ghetto of some sort. Who predominantly resides there in these ghettos?
The Jews.
The Jews. In this time, what do we call ourselves?
Ghetto.
No,
Negroes and Hispanics.
there you go. We call ourselves Negro. We call ourselves African American. We call ourselves Hispanic. We call ourselves wetback. Does anybody know that there's the word Spanish does not refer to a person? The word Spanish is an adjective. That means, it just means that it belongs to Spain. So when you say there's a Spanish person, you're saying that that person belongs to Spain. Now, anytime you say something belongs to somebody, it means that's showing ownership or possession. You ever thought about that? That's why you don't see any Frenchish people. Frenchish people, they don't call themselves Frenchish. German people don't call themselves, well, I get, would it be Germish? Germanish? They don't call themselves that. That's something that we do. We give ourselves these titles. We give ourselves these monikers because we don't understand who we are. We're the ones who say we live in the ghetto. Why do you live in the ghetto? Because that's where the Jews were made to live. It didn't change. Nobody ever changed it. Matter of fact, they don't even try to change it. They don't even try to tell you what it means. They're just like, yep, you live in the ghetto. Y'all are ghetto. We call ourselves ratchet. But it's all the same thing. You're ghetto. You are those people. Like I said, this stuff has been hidden in plain sight the whole time. And to show you that when it says that there are ghettos across the whole world, James 1:1. Matter of fact, yeah, James 1:1. James chapter 1, verse 1. It says, James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Scattered abroad means they're everywhere. That was actually one of the curses in Deuteronomy 28, where he says that I will scatter you into the four corners of the earth. Everywhere. You will be from the east to the west, north and south, in every corner of the planet. That's why there's a ghetto everywhere on the planet. Every city, country, all of that has a ghetto. Because that's where we are. We already went through Negro. We already went through that one. You can see that in Acts chapter 13 and verse 1. Acts chapter 13, verse 1. And it comes, this is the where it comes from. It's Portuguese, Spanish with a Latin origin of Niger, or pronounced nigger. So Acts chapter 13, verse 1 says, now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called, who sees it? Nigger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. So when you see that, that's that same word. All it means is black. So these two, Barnabas and Simeon, were dark-skinned. They were dark brothers. They were dark prophets. Apparently they were exceptionally dark. So much so that they were called dark. Hey, darky. That's what it is. They were called dark. Yeah. So these are the things that they were hidden just right in our plain sight. Now, there's a reason why they were hidden like that, and that reason, and this is in the Willie Lynch letters. I don't know if anybody has ever read that. but it's actually very profound, and it explains us right to the letter, to the T. So in the Willie Lynch letter, it says, warning, possible interloping negatives of making a slave. It says, earlier, we talked about the non-economic good of the horse and the nigger in their wild or natural state. We talked out the principle of breaking and tying them together for orderly production. Furthermore, we talked about paying particular attention to the female savage and her offspring for orderly future planning. Then more recently, we stated that by reversing the positions of the male and the female savages, we created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever unless a phenomenon occurred and re-sift in positions of the male and female savages. Now, what he's talking about right there is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. Give me a second. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. It reads, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. This is the order that Willie Lynch was talking about. He was talking about they have, where to go? And it says, then more recently, we stated that by reversing the positions of the male and female savages, we created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever. So what he's talking about is if you put the woman over the man in the household, talking about the married woman to the married man, if you put the woman over the man, we have reversed their natural order, how things are supposed to be set up. Remember, God set this up in he actually set this up in Genesis chapter 3. I want to say verse 15 or 16. When he 3:16. Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. And he says, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So the order that the Most High set up all the way back in Genesis, which means the beginning, the order that he set up, Willie Lynch is telling us right here. He's not telling it to us, he's telling it to slave owners who are trying to maintain their slaves. He's telling them, he says, since we have reversed the positions of the male and female savages, we created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever. If we can get the order in the household out of order, if we can corrupt that order, it will remain that way forever. Anyway, unless a phenomenon occurred and resift and positions of the male and female savages, unless something happens and they reorder themselves and they correct themselves, this is going to stay like this. I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to ask a question. How do we reorder ourselves? How do we correct that order?
Going back to God, going back to his laws.
Absolutely. That's how we correct that order. That's how we correct the roles and the order in the household. So Willie Lynch told you, he said, if this is not corrected, it'll last this way forever. And it's not that they're going to correct it. There's a correction that happens naturally. So
let me say something also with that. Also,
okay.
Not just hearers of the word, but we also need to be doers. Just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So we have to, when we say getting back to the law, statutes, commandments, we don't just mean just going back and reading the Bible. No, we need to read back. We need to read it, yes, but we also need to apply those things that are in it. So going back to Willie Lynch, that lasts forever. It says, our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. And the phenomenon is talking about the resifting when things go back to when the order is corrected. He says the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. For they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and re-correct itself over a period of time if I can touch some substantial original historical base. And they advised us that the best way, I'm sorry, he says if he could, it means if it can touch some substantial original historical base. Now for us, now this is crazy. In order to correct the order in the house, in order for us to get back to where we're supposed to be, get back to God's law, statutes, and commandments, it says that if the mind, if it can touch some substantial original historical base. What is our substantial historical base?
The word, the Bible.
Absolutely, 100% correct. So in order for us to, this is why they did not allow us to read. This is why they did not allow us to communicate. Because if we can get back to the word and more specifically the law, statutes, and commandments, we will correct that situation. Not only just that situation, but every situation. We can correct this entire condition. It says that, for they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time. If it can touch some substantial original historical base. And they advised us that the best way to deal with the phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusions, so that each illusion will twirl in its own orbit, something similar to floating balls in a vacuum. That is incredible. Are you raising your hand? No. Okay. That is incredible that even back then, Willie Lynch knew exactly what it would take for us to get back to for us to correct that condition. An original historical base. So for us to get back to the word, back to the law, statutes, commandments, that will correct that situation. Because he said that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself. According to the scriptures, what is the mind?
A heart.
It's the heart.
Spirit.
It's the heart. The Hebrew word for heart is lab, which means mind. So I know that's crazy. The Hebrew word for heart is lab, and it means mind. It translates into mind. So when think about the scripture, it says that my people do draw near me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. That's what he's talking about. So he says, renew in me a right spirit. That's what he's talking about. His mind. He's talking about our minds. So when he says that our mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself. So no matter what we're going through, no matter what situation we're in, no matter how bleak it looks, our mind always knows this isn't right. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be in this situation. That's why we were singing those songs. Kumbaya, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Wait in the Water. It was our minds trying to correct and recorrect themselves. Trying to get back to where we were supposed to, trying to get back to where we belong. So he says the way to counteract this is to give us a multiplicity of illusions. Those illusions are proverbs and a byword. Give us different names. We don't know who we are. We're African American, we're Negroes, we're niggers, coons, porch monkeys, all that. Anything you can think of outside of calling us the tribe of Judah, that's an illusion. Telling us that you can be a strong, independent woman, you don't need a man. That's an illusion. Or, this is a terrible one, if in order for a woman to get on welfare, do you know that the father of the child cannot be in the house? One of the first things they say, if you applying for welfare, is, okay, you have a child, are you married? Is the father of the child in the house? Can't be in the house. Section 8 is one of those things that they kind of do that too. Like they will definitely give Section 8, they will give those kind of benefits to especially to a woman who has children with no father present. Oh, you get bumped up on the list way fast. So these are the illusions that they get. So we're not going to call them Issachar. No, we're going to call them Spanish. We're going to call them wetback. We're going to say that, they're hard workers. We're going to say they're lazy. We're going to do all, these are illusions. Anything outside of calling us what the Most High called us, that's an illusion. Anything of telling us we're not the people of God, that's an illusion. And they say, oh no, you guys aren't Jews. No, that's stupid. You call yourselves an Israelite? Well, who do you think you are? No, you guys are African American. No, you guys are Spanish. You guys are Jamaican. You guys are Haitian. These are all illusions. And if you've noticed, especially for African Americans, our name changes. What we call ourselves changes every so many years. African American has only been around since like 1986 or 1987. Jesse Jackson came up with that term. They say that land over there, it's not, no, that's not Israel, it's Middle East. How can you have the middle on the surface of a sphere? That's impossible. That's why the Earth's core is called the core. It's the absolute middle. The core of something means the center or the middle of it. If the Earth's core is the middle of the Earth, how can the Middle East be the Middle East? That's impossible. It's on a sphere. It can't be the center over there. That's not the middle of anything. These are all illusions. The reason they give us these illusions is so that our mind, because our mind is constantly trying to correct and recorrect itself. What is it? I believe it's 1 Kings 8:32. It says that if they would bethink themselves and return. Matter of fact, an even more popular one is 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and 14. If my people who are called by my name, if you continue on through that, it's just talking about remember who you are. Correct yourself. Get back to the law, statutes, commandments. That's what Willie Lynch said. If you keep them from doing that, start providing them with all kinds of crazy things, and they will never be able to get back. Their minds will never be able to correct. So to continue on, it says this creation of multiplicity of phenomena of illusions entails the principle of crossbreeding the nigger and the horse, as we stated above. That's not talking about breeding black men with horses. It's just talking about the same way that they crossbreeded horses, crossbreed black people. It says the purpose of which is to create a diversified division of labor, thereby creating different levels of labor and different values of illusion at each connecting level of labor. This is where we get the division of light skin versus dark skin. The light skinned slaves were brought in the house. They were house niggas. They stayed in the house. They were the ones that was right next to master. And because of that relationship, they would snitch on the dark-skinned slaves who were left outside that were trying to do something to escape. The light-skinned slave would snitch on, hey, master, you know, they're trying to leave. They over there, they gonna run away. They're gonna try to come kill you in your sleep. They do all these things. And so this is what Willie Lynch was talking about. It says the results of which is the severance of the points of original beginnings for each sphere of illusion. So by this point, you are so lost that you don't even know where you started. You get the light-skinned slave, he's like, I ain't a slave, I'm in the house. They slaves. No, we're all slaves. He don't consider you his friend, you his property. Just because you in the house don't mean he considers you any better than us. And this is where that happened. This is how that happened.
We sick, master?
Huh?
I said, we sick, master?
Yeah, we sick. What's wrong, master? We sick? Absolutely. And this is the results of which is the severance of the points of original beginnings for each sphere illusion. Since we feel that the subject matter may get more complicated as we proceed in laying down our economic plan concerning the purpose, reason, and effect of crossbreeding horses and nigger, we shall lay down the following definition terms for future generations. Orbiting cycle means a thing turning in a given path. Axis means upon which or around which a body turns. Phenomenon means something beyond ordinary conception and inspires awe and wonder. That's what it is. It's something shiny to distract us from what's really at hand. That's what they were doing. Nah, you're not Jews. Nah, you're savages. Nah, you're not savages. You're heathens. Nah, you're not heathens. You guys are Afro-American. You guys are you're niggers. Nah, you're not niggers. You're coons. You're jigaboos. You're Afro-Americans. You're Pan-Africans. You're African-American. These are all phenomena, things that were like, oh, that's really who I am? That's what I am? Oh man, all this time I was thinking, nah, you wasn't that. This is what you are. This is multiplicity, means a great number. Sphere means a globe. Crossbreeding a horse means taking a horse and breeding it with an ass, and you get a dumb, backward, ass-long-headed mule that is not reproductive nor productive by itself. So that was the attempt on what they were trying to do to us. I just want to build strong black men who are stupid. That's what it is. That's what happened a little further up earlier on in the Willie Lynch letter. He says that if you remove the man from the house and you kill him brutally or you beat him brutally in front of everybody, you remove his authority or his influence over the house. So at that point, the woman is scared of, or she's scared for her male children, for them to fall into the same things that happened to the father. So what she does is she raises them to be soft. Now, he can be a big 200-pound black man, but he's soft. He's been raised by his mama. He's soft. That way, he won't ever buck the slave master. He won't ever try to do anything outside of what the slave master wants. All he'll do is work. He'll be soft. He'll be big and strong, but he'll just work. And that's what he's talking about when he's comparing it to the horse. If you breed a horse and a donkey, you get a mule. Or if you breed a horse and a mule, you get a donkey, one way or another. Mules are sterile. They're very strong. They do the same amount of work as a donkey will, but they can't breed on themselves. So you're not worried about them procreating without the farmer or the slave master's notice, without him knowing what's going on. And that's what they wanted for the slaves. You get yourself a big black male slave. You show him that you can destroy his daddy anytime you want to. Now his mom is going to raise him to be soft. And that's what that was all about. Now, this is why our history is hidden. But I'm not even saying they didn't do a good job, because a lot of us don't know who we are. Never had the idea, it never crossed our mind. I believe is it Jeremiah 1:3? No. What is that scripture? Joe, what's the scripture? It says, my people doth not consider. Is it Isaiah 1:3? Give me 1 second. Isaiah 1:3. Yes, here it is. Isaiah 1:3. It says, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider. We don't even consider that we're the children of Israel at this point. Mainly because of how well they hidden our history, how well they've kept us sidetracked. This all goes into Psalms 83 and 3, talks about crafty counsel. This all goes into that. It's just a way to keep us subjugated, a way of keeping us oppressed, keeping us from not knowing who we are. It's our history, and it's been hidden from us. And with that, I'm actually done. That last verse was a bonus. Let me put that.
Awesome. I would like to add that even when you talked about the light skin and the dark skin slaves, it's now more spiritual. Then you have a lot of churches that would denounce the teaching of Israelites and going back to the Torah and stuff. So then you see a lot of that. And one of my favorite scriptures is Deuteronomy 4, when it talks about that in 4 verses 5, behold, I have taught you commandments and judgments, even as Yahuwah commanded me, that ye should do them in the land whither you go to possess it. Guard therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So then if we get back there with all the stuff that you laid out, the understanding that we have, especially the men, the understanding that we have once we get ourselves in a position to lead, then the ladies will follow. But how do we do that? That's the one thing. 2, there is a cup that I need to teach on that the men have been drinking from, called the wrath of Yahuwah.
Oh, yeah.
And so then when you understand that when a woman sees that that cup is his portion, then how can she follow?
She don't
You
want
know
to.
what I'm saying? So, but going back to the Willie Lynch letters, that is his Torah, and it is working. So our Torah is this law, statutes, and commandments, the book of Moses and the prophets. If we get back there, and we are going and heading back there, then the Father will remove that cup of wrath, and then we can move forward as a nation. I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Okay.
I'll pray about it, yes.
You want to? I was gonna ask see if Aliyahu would do it.
If he's on.
He's on. Aliyahu, are you there?
Kane, I'm here.
Ak, would you mind praying us out?
Sure, no problem. Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, O Father, our Elohim, creator of the heavens and the earth. We esteem and give your name the praise. For indeed it is your name that is worthy of the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to your name. You are our Redeemer, our Creator, our Judge, and the Sustainer of our life. It is in you and in your Torah and in your laws and in your commandments and your statutes that we have life, that we have liberty, that we have shalom. And we pray, oh Father, that you would cause us, those of us whom you have called by your name, from the inner man, to lay hold of your Torah, to guard your laws, statutes, and commandments, and to walk in them by the power and the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh, or the set-apart spirit. We thank you, O Abba, for your Shabbat, for this is indeed your set-apart day, the day that you have marked throughout all generations, forever and ever, from the beginning of time until the very end of this present world, even until the new Shamayim, or the new heavens and the earth to come. And you have commanded us to guard this day and to keep it set apart, O Kadesh, even as you had sanctified it and blessed it in the beginning. It is in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach do we offer you praise, do we offer you thanksgiving, do we esteem you and lift up your name. Even as our Messiah said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me, those whom you had given him. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, do we thank you for the fellowship? Do we thank you for the lesson, for the word, for the understanding, for the calling back to our original historical source, which is your calling upon us from the foundation of the world. In the fullness of time, though through our ancestors' sin and captivity and slavery, we would lose our heritage, but no enemy, nor death, nor Hasatan is able to thwart that which you have called. And we esteem you with humbleness that you have called us and caused us to return to your covenant, even as you have prophesied through your prophets in your word. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, do we declare Yahuwah is indeed Elohim, and Yahushua HaMashiach is your son. In Yahushua HaMashiach, Halel Yahuwah. Amen.
Amen.
Oh,
Thank. So be it.
so with
That was awesome, Mark. That blew my mind.
does anybody want? Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and I'll put up the notes that I had for today. Look at that. Oh, 1 second. I have to close it. I'll put up the notes for today. Yeah, there it goes. So for all you guys who are still on, you can see it. It just uploaded. You can click on it. You can have that. Also, I can do another thing. I will give you guys the calendar. I'm sorry, I make noises. Will it do it? Nope, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay, so I thought it was gonna let me be able to put it up there. But that's the notes for today. Minus that last scripture, minus Isaiah 1 and 3. Matter of fact, I don't even think I have those in there. The scriptures aren't in there. The scriptures are in my personal notes. These are all the Aliyahu, the notes just posted up right above in the chat. If you guys want like the scriptural references, we put them in the chat. Yeah, so you can have those scriptural references. I will work on getting the calendar so that it comes up here next time. Or what I'm going to do is I think one of the Aliyahu suggested that we start a WhatsApp group. So we'll start a WhatsApp group, and I'll post all kinds of documents in there. I'll post the calendar, notes, and all that stuff. That way we can have all that stuff. So by next week, we will have the WhatsApp, and I'll give you guys all the link. I'll put the link in here so that we can all get it. And also, I spoke to the other guys. I think I was supposed to call you, Aliyahu. I forgot. So I've spoken to everybody except Aliyahu about doing the devotion one day during the week. And what we're going to do is we're going to post up some scriptures, like something that we can all read, and like just in between lessons, something to get us through. Stop doing that. Something that we can get through, so we can have something to read and something to research in between the Sabbaths. And we're going to start that this week. So I'll see who's going to do it first. I might do the first one, and I'll post it. We'll have to have the WhatsApp before then. So I'll figure out a way how to send you guys the link. I think because Joe has everybody's number that I don't have, and I will send a link to the people's numbers that I do have, and then you can just spread it as you want to. And then next week we'll have the WhatsApp thing going on, so we can post stuff in there, and everybody can get all the information. If there are no more questions, if there are no more comments, everybody have a good week. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. Make sure y'all rest up. And until next Sabbath, shalom.
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 Shalom, shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Aliyahu, if you got a few minutes out, I can talk to you real quick.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. We were the whole devotional thing. We were talking about that. I spoke to Joe, and I believe Joe spoke to Prentice, and I talked to also the other elder who's on here about doing. Hang on one second. About doing a devotional, like just some kind of something to get people from Sabbath to Sabbath. It doesn't have to be anything long and drawn out. You don't have to get on and do a whole hour lesson or anything like that.
Right.
It's something like if we provide like a few scriptures, like a brief topic, something that we could meditate on, something that we could study, just like a guided study during the week. That would be. So if you're down to that, it's not going to be up to you to do it every week, but we're just trying to get a rotation so that it's not so much of a, I don't want to say a burden, but it's just so it's not so much on any one of us. Because, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, cut it out. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like when I'm like coming up with the lessons and doing that stuff, it takes a lot out of me. So I can promise you that I won't be able to do it every week, like to do a devotional and the lesson every week. So it would be awesome if we could split it up amongst the brothers, and just so we can have something, because people are asking for that kind of thing.
No, got you. Right. No, that's I'm definitely down for it, and trust me, I know it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time. Takes a lot